Hi, I'm John Martinez. I'm the middle child of Mel Martinez. I'm a graduate of Bishop Moore, graduated in 1999. A lot of people say it was the best class ever. I played football and baseball here and loved my time. My dad's faith has been a part of his journey, his literal journey to the United States from Cuba. Catholic Charities brought him here and placed him at Bishop Moore. So faith played a huge part in that in his young development and has continued. It's continued to, my dad's faith has helped form who he is as a person, as a parent, as a political leader. That was what the foundation of his entire life was. From coming here from Cuba to where he is now and what he's passed on to his children.
Hi, my name is Ralph Martinez. I'm Mel's younger brother. If you roll it back to when the Bay of Pigs invasion failed in Cuba, Castro and the communist government decided to close all the churches and close all the private schools, including all the parochial schools. And so we grew up in that environment where the government wanted to take away our faith. And so about once every 3 or 4 months, a priest would come to town and would open the church and do a mass. And the communists would find out and they would rally around the church and start throwing rocks at us and calling us names for going to church. And so you would go through that yelling and screaming and all, and then you'd go inside and you'd be able to sit there and pray and receive communion, and your heart was settled, and then you had to go back out there again. And we lived in that environment. So in a way, if someone is starting to take your faith away from you, it becomes a lot stronger. So Mel and I were unfortunate because we lived through that situation, but in a way we were fortunate because it cemented our faith. When the communist government decided to close the churches, we had one last mass at our school. And if you can imagine saying goodbye to all your teachers, and you know, these were great priests that we used to play soccer with, and we were just very, very close to them, which again, it was good because they cemented even further our faith. And so they had one last mass, and there were machine gun guards outside with bayonets. And here I'm in 5th grade, Mel's in like 7th or 8th, and we had to be searched to go into to mass. And then the priest presented us scapularies, which we were very proud to wear. And then when we went back out, we had to have machine gun guards also with bayonets search us. And so, you know, they closed the churches, they stole everything out of the churches, the communist government melted all the chalices and all for gold. And so it was a very, very traumatic time for us during that period. Then soon after that, there was a young man in our neighborhood that was killed by the communist government at age 16 for dabbling with the underground. And Mel, being a little older than me, was already sort of having some contacts with those people, and my parents became very concerned. We heard about Operation Pedro Pan, which was basically a Catholic charity opportunity to have children come to the U.S., particularly of children whose parents had been arrested and had nowhere to go. And that evolved then later into other children being able to come to the U.S. very temporarily. We all thought we were coming just for 2 or 3, 4 months until the communist government would be overthrown, because no one expected a communist government to be so close, 90 miles from the United States, to survive. And so we all came legally with visas into the United States, thinking it would be a very short period of time. Operation Pedro Pan, in our case, for Mel particularly, the Catholic Charities would receive him at the airport, take him to a summer camp. There they would process him and then get him to other camps around the U.S. Mel ended up in a camp in Jacksonville. And then he, from there, came to a foster home here in Orlando. 12 other boys came with him from the camp.
You know, I like to start here and tonight in honoring, you know, Melquiades Martinez, or Senator Martinez. You know, explain a little bit about Operation Pedro Pan. And he was always told by Monsignor Walsh that it is Operation Pedro Pan, it's not Operation Peter Pan. So it was a program, an incredible program that the Catholic Church and the State Department, but it was at the time Father Walsh in Miami, involving Catholic Charities down there, that convinced the State Department to do something they had never done before, to issue blank visas to young people to get the kids out of Cuba before military age or before they were under the control of the communist government. So in the case of Mel, he went on the list and finally got his chance to come to the United States, because it was an incredible program that handled 14,500 young people, probably from ages 6 to ages 16 or so. And they were, Monsignor Walsh will find homes, whether it would be an orphanage, a camp, like in the case of Mel and I went to a summer camp converted into an orphanage for us Cuban kids, to homes, to any place all the way to Oregon. In the case of Mel, he arrived on February the 6th, 1962, and he went to Matacumbe, which was the staging area, and there he was being sent to different places, but he wanted to go to the camp, the orphanage, in Switzerland, Florida. Most of you, 99% of you, don't know there's a Switzerland, Florida. And unfortunate, the camp in Switzerland was a little bit rowdy, and they didn't want to add any more kids to the camp. But he finally got his way. He had faith in that he will end up at the camp with all his other, some of the other people that he knew. So he landed there in March of '62, and it was too late to go to Bishop Kenny. So they put him in some kind of a school to learn English or whatever. I think they spent most of their time in a park downtown Jacksonville. And then they called us in one day in the summer and said that they were closing the camp and we would be relocating all over the state. So we ended up, Mel and I, we were lucky that we came to Orlando.
Catholic education is hugely important to both of my parents. I was at a non-Catholic school and they pulled me out of that to get me the Catholic education. So it was really important. At the time I didn't agree with their decision, but then I ended up being really happy with their decision. Listen, I'm surprised to hear that education is a huge part of my dad, because I don't think he got the best grades. But I know it's very important. I know the Catholic aspect of his education is of paramount importance to him and to my mom. And he's passed that along to us, my wife and I. The religious education of our children is super important. And so that comes from my dad and my mom.
So I like to go over, again, dealing with Mel's faith. The beginning at Bishop Moore did not go well. Mel had played, was a good baseball player, a good basketball player, and he tried out for the baseball team. He made it, but he could not play. There was that rule that if you transfer from another high school, that you could not play. Same thing happened to me when I went to play for football. I had to play 1 year in the junior varsity because, again, I had transferred from Bishop Kenny to Bishop Moore. So there he was there when he was told, you made the team, but you cannot play. And the rules apply to everyone, not because he was Cuban or he was Catholic or whatever. No, he just could not play. But he did not really lose his drive there. And he went ahead and he practiced with the team. Couldn't play, but he stayed with the team, practiced. And when you practice, you want to play. But he did not. And that, again, that's an example of him on his drive and his faith that he will get to eventually play. In talking more about Mel's involvement with Bishop Moore and giving back to the school for what the school did for him at such a critical time in his life. He had been on the Board of Education, as the board was called back then, and he asked me, my oldest daughter was joining, transferring from St. James to Bishop Moore as a freshman, when he asked me to serve on the Board of Education, as it was called back then. It was a transition period. We were changing principals. And there were a lot of items on the plate that needed to be dealt with. But Mel devoted, quite a bit of time. I remember we had the issue with the land over there by the lake. That was, didn't belong to us. So that he worked on some of that to try to see what we could do to exchange something for that. And like that, there were a number of issues, a number of programs that to be established. And Mel did a fantastic job as the chair of the Board of Education.
Bishop Moore is a big part of my dad's life, and he still stays in touch with a lot of his friends. Surprisingly, from way back then, he still stays in touch with them, and they have a group, they get together, they'll go to a football game or a baseball game. And he and I don't go to enough, but we'd like to do that more because it's a big part of our relationship as father and son was going to my games. So he loves Bishop Moore. He's been able to see his grandchildren go here, and he's got more coming. So it's a big part of his life, and he's never let that go.
Hey everybody, Senator Lindsey Graham here. I wish I could be with you in person. Mel and Kitty, congratulations, and to the group that's honoring Mel and Kitty both. Thank you for recognizing the dedication Mel has had for Catholic charities and education throughout his life. The one thing I like about Mel the most, he never forgot where he came from and all those people who were there to help him. He comes to America not speaking any English. I think he's doing pretty good now, better than me. The bottom line is foster families from the parish stepped up and gave us what we have today in Mel and Kitty. And the thing I like most about Mel and Kitty is they've never forgotten those that were there for them, and he's done everything in his power, I think, throughout his life to give back. So this honor is well deserved. Mel and Kitty, I wish I were there with you, but all of your friends wish you well, and well done, my friend. We'll see you around.
Dad, on behalf of all of us in the family, I want to say congratulations on being honored tonight. You're a huge inspiration to all of us, and we're really happy for you.
No, Mel has been a leader in many areas. He's also a leader in our family, and he has done a great job of just being, we almost tease and say, Mel, you're the patriarch. But he gives us always good wisdom all the time. My kids growing up always say, what would Uncle Mel do in a situation like this? He's also modeled for us unconditional love. And so Mel is a wonderful big brother. He actually is my father figure, my brother, and my best friend. Congratulations, Mel. Best thing that ever happened to Mel is Kitty, by the way. You need to make sure you put that in.
And I said, like I said, Mel, we known each other our entire lives. Even if we live in separate hometowns, but our families are from the same, from the same hometown. You have never changed. You are the same Mercadito, from Sabana Grande or Melquia, which is what I've always called you. And congratulations. Congratulations on this honor. Very deserving, because you really had given back to Bishop Moore, a place that took you in and you never forgot. Again, congratulations.